Good Morning America. This morning, honoring President Jimmy Carter, from naval officer to peanut farmer.
My name is Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president.
To the highest office in the land. His time in office focusing on human rights and civil rights, and forging a breakthrough in Middle East peace. Plus, how he redefined the modern post-presidency.
Make a full life even more full.
Well, I think so. It's been the best part of my life since I left the White House.
Building homes with Habitat for Humanity and winning a Nobel Peace Prize. The Carter's love story for the ages.
President Carter, you say often that marrying Mrs. Carter was the pinnacle of your life.
Oh, yes. That was the most important thing in my life.
This morning, we remember the life and legacy of our 39th president.
5 minutes of mystery. New details in the deadly plane crash in South Korea, the Boeing jet slamming into an airport barrier, killing almost everyone on board. What we're learning this morning about the two survivors, we are live on the scene.
New Year's Eve security, the preparations around the world and here in Times Square. And as we count down to 2025, 3, 2, 1. Ryan Seacrest is here, the host of the biggest party in the world, celebrating 20 years of ringing us into the new year. The last-minute preparations, the all-star musical lineup, and the confetti test.
Top dog, Monty the giant schnauzer, taking care of business. Best in show this Monday morning. Monty is here live in Times Square.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. It is the final Monday of the year. It is great to be with you, Gio and Will.
Hello. The final Monday. We've got Monty here. We've also got Ryan Seacrest. We look forward to talking to him because he's going to be hosting the world's biggest New Year's Eve party right here in Times Square.
He's going to tell us all about the preparations for the big night, including that amazing lineup of performers and the confetti test, which I didn't know was a thing.
Well, it is a thing, and it's happening right outside our window, and it's all coming up ahead. But first, we're here honoring Jimmy Carter, the former president who died yesterday at his Georgia home, surrounded by his family. It's hard to remember a time when he wasn't part of our national life. Our senior national correspondent, Steve Osunsami, is at the Carter Center in Atlanta, a major part of the former president's legacy. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Rebecca. The former president died Sunday afternoon, and as much as his family has been prepared for this moment, it is still a difficult time losing someone they've had to share with the world.
He'll always be the small-town man who would teach the world to remember his name.
My name is Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president.
Jimmy Carter was a Georgia peanut farmer who never forgot where he came from. He was a man of the soil and of the New South who took on Washington.
I say to you, quite frankly, that the time for racial discrimination is over.
His road to the White House began in the small town of Plains. He graduated from the Naval Academy after running the family business, and then public service came calling. By 1970, Jimmy Carter was elected Georgia's governor, but he was still so unknown across the country that when he appeared on the popular game show What's My Line, no one knew who he was.
Is this anything to do with the world of fashion?
No. Too down, hate to go down.
But come 1976, he was the Democratic nominee.
As a candidate and as a president, I'll never tell a lie.
After a White House that saw scandal from Richard Nixon and a controversial pardon from Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter was a new face that told voters it was time to turn the page.
ABC now projects Carter is the winner with 272 electoral votes.
And this farmer, James Earl Carter Jr., took the oath of office as Jimmy.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
the
office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
On Inauguration Day, he and First Lady Rosalind, his partner in all things, left their limo and walked the parade.
And this is more like it was in the old days.
He pushed for human rights and foreign policy. And one of his biggest achievements in the White House was the historic peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, which still stands today.
There's the partnership.
But stateside, his presidency was a challenge. Rising inflation and gas lines as long as the eye can see. issues he tried to address in an infamous speech where he blamed some of the country's problems on the crisis of the spirit, a speech critics say helped spell the end of his success as a president.
It is a crisis that strikes at the very heart and soul and spirit of our national will.
After Iranian militants took hostages at the American embassy in Tehran, the president seemed powerless. An American rescue mission failed. Then, after 444 days, with Americans following every detail, the Iranians finally released the Americans. But it was on the day when Jimmy Carter left the White House. Our cameras were with him in those final hours as their release was becoming a reality.
Right on, man. That's great. That's great. I think that was the happiest day that I've ever had. Not in laying down the burdens of the presidency, which I did not want to do, but in just knowing that those hostages were free.
He was just 56 years old when he left the White House, unsure of the future.
We didn't know what we were going to do the rest of our lives, and we decided to take on projects that no one else wanted to do.
But instead of avoiding the spotlight, President Carter and his wife stepped right into it in a different way. They worked with Habitat for Humanity, building homes for the poor. And through the Carter Center, they traveled the world, helping nations end disease and monitor foreign elections. His work promoting human rights won him the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002.
We can choose to alleviate suffering. We can choose to work together for peace.
But no matter how far he traveled, his home was always his farm in Plains. Carter talked about spending more time there as he slowed down. In August of 2015, he shared with the world that he had cancer, melanoma, that had spread to his liver and brain.
I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence. But now I feel, that it's in the hands of God, whom I worship, and I'll be prepared for anything that comes.
Suddenly, the lines grew longer outside his tiny Baptist church in Plains, Georgia, where Carter, as he had for decades, continued to teach Sunday school.
Students, disciples.
Then, within months, the former president had beaten the odds, announcing he was cancer-free. Through it all, he would tell anyone that the best thing that ever happened to him was marrying his wife, Rosalind, in 1946.
When I first had a date with her, the next morning I told my mother that was the girl I wanted to marry.
They were married for 77 years until Rosalind's death in November of 2023.
There's no doubt in my mind that my love for her is stronger because we've been through so many things together.
Life with Jimmy Carter has been an adventure.
Overnight, President Biden spoke of remembering his dear friend.
Millions of people all around the world, all over the world, feel they lost a friend as well, even though they never met him. And that's because Jimmy Carter lived a life measured not by words, but by his deeds.
And President-elect Trump wrote that he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude. Former President Barack Obama wrote that Carter taught all of us what it means to live a life of grace, dignity, justice, and service. From former President George W. Bush, Carter was loyal to his family, his community, and his country. And from the Clintons, he worked tirelessly for a better, fairer world. This was a president who may be best known for what he did after he left the Oval Office, for the lives he touched across the world and the love he shared at home that guided him.
Make a full life even more full.
Well, I think so. It's been the best part of my life since I left the White House. But I really have been both gratified and honored and pleased and excited to be the president of a great country.
President Jimmy Carter was 100 years old.
The family, the U.S. military, and the people who run the Carter Center here are still working on funeral arrangements. There are plans that have actually been in the works for decades, but they're having to adjust them to work around the New Year holiday. There will be a state funeral in Washington, D.C., and Jimmy Carter will be buried here in Georgia next to his wife. Jill.
A beautiful love story and a legacy of kindness, Steve. Thank you so much for that. We're going to switch gears here and go overseas now to one of the worst plane crashes in aviation history. 179 people killed after a Boeing 737 made a belly landing, skidded off the runway, and slammed into a wall. And now this morning, 5 minutes of mystery. What happened in those final moments before that landing? Britt Clennett is in Won, South Korea right now with the latest. Good morning, Britt.
Good morning, Gio. Yeah, you can still see the mangled wreckage of that plane behind me here at Muan Airport, and you really get a sense, Gio, of just how sudden and catastrophic it all was. South Korean authorities now say they will carry out a full inspection of the country's Boeing 737-800s, while U.S. officials have landed here to help with the investigation. This morning, U.S. federal officials joining the investigation into the horrific Jeju airplane crash. The Boeing 737 with 181 passengers and crew on board, seen here skidding down the runway on its belly without landing gear, its engine scraping along the tarmac before crashing into a concrete wall. The aircraft then exploding, parts of the plane engulfed in flames and thick smoke. 179 killed, including 5 children as young as 3 years old. 2 people miraculously surviving. A male crew member now receiving treatment in the ICU and a female crew member who is recovering. Korean investigators retrieving the partially damaged black boxes, but say the cockpit voice recorder was intact. South Korean officials saying that on Sunday at around 9 a.m. local time, the flight arriving from Bangkok issued a warning of a potential bird strike. 2 minutes later, the pilot makes a mayday call. The plane makes an unusually quick 180-degree turn, crashing moments later. Jeju is a low-cost carrier with an impeccable safety record. The airline CEO bowing in apology. Distraught family members gathering as the names of the lives lost are read out. Jeon Ji-young's daughter was on board. He said she was almost home. Boeing releasing a statement saying they're working with Jeju Air, adding, "We extend our deepest condolences to the families who lost loved ones, and our thoughts remain with the passengers and crew." So much agony and frustration among those who have lost loved ones. South Korea is in 7 days of national mourning, cancelling its New Year's countdown out of respect for those who died. Will.
Thank you, Britt. Just tragic. And not the only incident over the weekend. There were 2 other incidents involving airliners on Saturday. This video here showing an Air Canada Express flight on its side being hosed down by firefighters in Halifax, Nova Scotia, after the plane had a landing gear problem on touchdown. The crew and 73 passengers got out safely. And in Norway, a KLM 737 was diverted after the crew heard a loud noise shortly after takeoff from Oslo. The plane landed in Torp and veered off the runway at a low speed. There were no injuries there. Gio?
All right, Will, let's go ahead and bring in ABC News contributor and aviation consultant, Colonel Steve Gagnier, because there is a lot to talk about. Steve, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Let's go ahead and start with that South Korean crash, because authorities are pointing to this bird strike. We know that there were 5 minutes, right? We lost that flight radar data just 5 minutes before they landed and then crashed. What does that tell you? Did the pilots have enough time to even deploy that landing gear?
Yeah, Gio, you know, when we look at these mishaps, there's oftentimes clues early on in the mishap that would point us to an idea of what might have happened. There is nothing that we see in this video that tells us what might have happened. So we did see a video that appears to show that they adjusted a bird into the right engine. We don't know what other birds might have hit the aircraft, whether there was other damage to the aircraft. We don't know why they landed with the gear up. If you look at the airplane as it goes by the camera there, you can see the slats and flaps are up, so it landed very fast. It touched down way down the runway. Why was it going so fast when they had almost 2 miles of runway that they could have touched down earlier? So many mysteries here, Gio, and nothing from what we see makes sense.
Well, and Steve, all of these really big questions, how much are the black boxes going to shed light on answers?
Yeah, Rebecca, everything's going to get answered by the black boxes. Again, the video doesn't tell us anything. It just raises more questions. They'll want to read out the black boxes fairly quickly here to make sure it's not something that's systemic to the 787. But at this point, there's nothing that points to the 787 as being the problem.
And these 2 other incidents this weekend, Steve, the one in Canada, the other in Norway, what can you tell us about those?
Yeah, well, there's no superstition among pilots that mishaps tend to occur in threes, but there's no correlation between these 3 mishaps. The one in Canada, that's an airplane that's had a known landing gear problem for a long time. If you see that fire there, that was confined to the engine, so people on board really weren't in any significant danger. And the one, the KLM incident, it was should have been handled a little bit better, but they just dribbled off into the grass. So the other 2 incidents really were not serious. It was the Korea incident that was that's going to be the real problem and figure out why that actually happened.
Well, and of course, those 179 families waiting on answers for the Korea incident. Your heart goes out to them. Steve, thanks for that information this morning and for covering this with us. Okay, the weather put a damper on the traditional New Year's Eve ball drop here in Times Square, where security is expected to be tight. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is here with more on the security preparations. And there's rain in the air this morning. Good morning, Aaron.
There's rain. It's not going to dampen anything because there'll be hundreds of thousands of people out here in Times Square, which is now getting decked out for New Year's Eve, Rebecca. And along with the gleaming crystal ball, confetti and lights, there are metal fences and concrete barriers and security checkpoints. And while there are no credible threats, police are mindful of the Christmas market attack in Germany. The NYPD says that incident is a reminder that vehicle ramming remains an attractive tactic for a range of malicious actors. Authorities are also seeing an uptick in ISIS propaganda online that focuses on attacking Christians and the holiday season. Thousands of officers are going to be on duty in Times Square, and the NYPD will deploy drones and dogs and helicopters to watch over the crowd cramming into the streets just outside here to greet 2025 with hundreds of thousands of fellow revelers, including our own Ryan Seacrest.
And maybe even you, Aaron, or me, or any of us. Thank you for that. We will be well protected. We appreciate you. And we have just 1 week now left to go in the NFL regular season. The playoff picture nearly crystallized, and a special mention for the Philadelphia Eagles, who emphatically clinched their division yesterday with an eye toward history. And our Ike Ajachi is here with the breakdown. Ike, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. Now, my Jets may not be heading to the postseason, but another gangrene is. The Philadelphia Eagles clinching the top spot in the NFC East, flying high over the Dallas Cowboys, 41-7. And they did it with their backup quarterbacks, too. Jalen Hurts sidelined due to concussion protocol. Tanner McKee eventually stepping up, connecting with A.J. Brown for the touchdown, launching the ball into the stands in celebration, then realizing, wait a minute, he just gave away McKee's first touchdown ball. Now he asked the fan to give it back, promising to give him the jersey off his back. The fan mouthed, yeah, I got you. Now it was also a big game for Saquon Barkley, too, inching towards NFL history, becoming the 9th player to rush for 2,000 yards in the season. Now he's just 101 yards away from the record. Coach Sirianni might opt to rest Barkley next week, but they face his previous team, the New York Giants, so Saquon might feel like he has something to prove. Before we get to that game, we have the Detroit Lions taking on the San Francisco 49ers tonight right here on ABC and ESPN. Guys?
Oh, it just keeps heating up, and I love to see the Vikings. Just saying. Okay, thanks, Ike. Coming up, former President Jimmy Carter's legacy, his life and work after leaving the White House.
And the new move by the legal team for the Menendez brothers, why their lawyer wants to take the decision on their release out of the LADA's hands.
Plus, Ryan Seacrest tells us all about getting ready for the New Year's ball drop in Times Square. And the top dogs coming up. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to GMA. That is the Jonas Brothers Rockin' Central Park here in New York at the Global Citizen Festival in 2022. They're about to play a big show tomorrow night here in the city, ringing in 2025 on Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. And Ryan Seacrest is here to tell us all about the big show. It starts tomorrow night at 8 p.m. with the ball dropping at midnight. That is coming up. The festivities right outside our window.
Right there. Will and I were talking about, we can't believe it's been 20 years.
Wild.
I feel like we've watched all of
2025 years. But.
Oh, boy. Let's get to the top headlines we're following right now here. The investigation, of course, into that devastating plane crash in South Korea, killing 179 with 2 survivors. The question's now about those 5 minutes of mystery. What happened in those final moments before that landing and crash? In Delray Beach, Florida, a high-speed passenger train collided over the weekend with a fire truck that was crossing the tracks while responding to an emergency. A dozen passengers and 3 firefighters were injured. It's not clear why the fire truck drove into the path of the oncoming train. The Federal Railroad Administration is now investigating the incident.
And we remember actress Linda Lavin, who went from Tony winner to TV star during her long career. She's probably best remembered for her Golden Globe winning role as the working class waitress on the hit sitcom Alice in the 1970s and 80s. And she's worked steadily on stage and screen since then, most recently on the show No Good Deed with Lisa Kudrow and on the upcoming Mid-Century Modern. Lavin passed away after a short battle with lung cancer. She was 87. And we've got a lot more ahead today, including Monty the Giant Schnauzer, who was named Best in Show at the AKC National Championship. He is here, and that is coming up.
And we are looking forward to that, Will. But we turn now to more of our top story, the death of former President Jimmy Carter. After he left office, Carter did not retire. He got to work, from humanitarianism, fighting for peace and global health, all of it winning him a Nobel Peace Prize. Robin has more on his extraordinary legacy.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
He was the 39th President of the United States, serving only one term.
How much do you think about what might have been, what a second term would have looked like?
Looking back on it, I wouldn't change it. The life we've had since then, 35 or more years, at the Carter Center has opened up a new opportunity for us to serve in 80 countries in the world.
So much of the legacy President Jimmy Carter leaves behind from the 43 years after his time in the White House.
You've now engaged in public service outside, after the presidency,
yes,
longer than any other American president. How did your views on what you could do and the power of that position evolve over time?
Well, when I left the White House, of course, I was fairly young. For survivors of the White House, I was someone of 56, and we didn't know what we were going to do the rest of our lives, and we decided to take on projects that no one else wanted to do.
His long and blissful marriage with wife Rosalind, lasting 77 years, the couple an example of love and support. Rosalind serving as advisor to her husband.
I think we just developed a mutual respect for what the other person could do.
I like to come.
That's right. We can come home at night and he wants to know what I'm doing, I want to know what he's doing. It's just an exciting life.
And together with his wife, President Carter focusing so much of his life on helping others, building homes for those in need, speaking against injustice.
The number one abuse of human rights on earth is strangely not addressed quite often is the abuse of women and girls.
And working to eradicate disease.
Well, I think this is going to be a great achievement, for not for me, but from the people that have been afflicted and for the entire world to see diseases like this eradicated.
President Jimmy Carter, leading by example and paving a path for subsequent presidents on life beyond the walls of the Oval Office.
When historians write the paragraph on Jimmy Carter, 100 years from now, what do you want to be at the top of the list?
I'd say maybe peace and human rights. I kept the country at peace for 4 years and promoted peace for other people.
A remarkable life, and our thanks to Robin for that story. And we're joined now by ABC News presidential historian Mark Updegrove. Mark, thank you for being with us. We've been talking all morning about this extraordinary life. You met Jimmy Carter on multiple occasions. What stood out most to you about the man?
You know, Rebecca, he was so down to earth, so accessible, somebody you could talk to very easily, despite the fact that he was our 39th president, somebody you could really engage with easily, but also somebody who was deeply devoted to making the world a better place, both as a public servant, as governor, a senator from Georgia, and then governor of Georgia, and then, of course, the 39th president of the United States, but also as a private citizen, where he spent 44 years of his 100 years as a former president, the longest post-presidency in American history. That's where he really made his mark as a humanitarian, as a philanthropist, somebody who truly did make the world a better place.
Well, and it is remarkable just to see overnight all of the tributes pouring in. It seems to be one of the few things that can unite Washington at a moment like this. You posted recently a picture of you and your wife meeting with the Carters about a decade ago. What did he say then about what he wanted his legacy to be?
You know, we visited the Carters a number of times at their house in Plains. We had gone to church with them that morning. It was a Sunday, and we went to see him teach Sunday school at Maranatha Baptist Church, his church. And then we went back to the Carter house, a very modest ranch-style home that they built in 1961 and that didn't change much when they moved back to Plains after he left the White House in 1981. They showed us around. We were going to have lunch, and then We didn't end up getting to lunch because we had talked so long, and so naturally the Carters packed us a lunch, putting it in a recycled paper bag, and then they sent us on our way to Atlanta. It was just a wonderful visit, one of many that we had with the president and former first lady over time.
And I think I might have even seen that little paper bag in the photo there that you posted on his 100th
That's
birthday.
Exactly right.
What should his legacy be? How should we remember the president, Jimmy Carter?
You know, I think it's exactly what he told George Stephanopoulos in that clip you played a moment ago, Rebecca, and what he told me on a number of occasions. He wanted to be remembered for peacemaking and human rights. And of course, he is the only former president to become a Nobel laureate. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. That's how we'll remember Jimmy Carter, I think. He said that many people will remember me as a one-term president, but it's really the work that I did, he said, at the Carter Center, his nonprofit that he launched in his post-presidency, that he wanted to be remembered for. Things like eradicating disease and monitoring elections and waging peace, as well as building the homes for Habitat for Humanity, a remarkable post-presidency, Rebecca.
A man who loved his country and sought to do everything in his power to make it a better place. Okay, Mark, thank you.
And now to the new twist in the Menendez brothers case. Their lawyer now claiming that there's a conflict of interest and the California Attorney General should take over the case as the brothers seek their freedom. Stephanie Ramos is following all the details. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning, Gio. Good morning, everyone. This could be a big deal. This new move within the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office could mean a major shift in the Menendez brothers' case. If the case is transferred to the California Attorney General's office, the family believes the brothers have a better chance of being released.
This morning, a significant development in the decades-long case of Eric and Lyle Menendez. Attorney Brian Friedman, who represents 24 family members of Kitty and Jose Menendez and supports the brothers' release, plans to file a petition to transfer their case from the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office to the California Attorney General.
It's Kitty's older sister. It's Jose's older sister. Those are the people that I'm really looking out for to have a voice in this process.
He argues a conflict of interest exists between LA's new district attorney, Nathan Hochman, and his appointee, Kathleen Cady, the newly named director of the Bureau of Victim Services. Cady recently served as the attorney for Kitty's brother, Milton Anderson, the only family member opposed to the brothers' release. She resigned from that role upon joining Hochman's team.
It's really unknown whether or not the California Attorney General will be more favorable to resentencing. But at least at this point, Brian Friedman believes that he's going to fare far better with the Attorney General than with the LA District Attorney.
Hochman, sworn in earlier this month, has removed 2 deputy district attorneys previously advocating for the brothers' resentencing. He told ABC News he plans to review all evidence and speak with witnesses before deciding on the case, which has gained renewed attention following recent documentaries and dramatizations.
I told him everything. Okay? Everything about what?
Friedman claims the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, would likely be more supportive of their release if the case is transferred. The Menendez brothers, now in their 50s, have been incarcerated since their 1996 conviction for the murders of their parents, Kitty and Jose, in 1989. Their aunt, Joan Vandermolen, Kitty's sister, has been a staunch advocate for their release.
The truth is, Lyle and Eric were failed by the very people who should have protected them.
Hochman has yet to respond to Friedman's latest move, but this legal battle could signal a major shift in this high-profile case. Guys, the resentencing hearing for both guys, for the brothers, is set for the end of January, so we'll be watching for that.
Fascinating case. Sure will. The twists and turns keep coming. Stephanie, thank you for that. We've been counting down to this special play of the day. What would New Year's Eve be without Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve right here on ABC? What would it be without Ryan Seacrest, who is here joining us?
Still very excited. Still very excited. That ball will still drop.
20 years you've been doing this.
I know.
And it still feels good.
It's so much fun. Although, we rehearsed last night, and it's almost like we've never done it before every year. Like, how do we do this again?
What do you rehearse? What do you do behind the scenes? 10, 9, 8, or is there way more, probably?
It's a little more stressful than that. That's right. I mean, it starts at 8 o'clock, it ends at 2 a.m. There's a lot of performers. We have to sync to the world clock. I mean, we've got to practice, all of that. Also the moves, the tech outside, the weather, if it rains, what happens. Although it's supposed to be pretty warm this year, so that's comforting.
And what is this confetti test we've been talking about so much?
Well, it's like baking a cookie. It's got to be perfect, right? I mean, if
it's science.
It's science. If it's too thick, it won't fall right. If it's too thin, it'll crumble up. So we've got to test it, let it fall, make sure it rains perfectly, Will.
In all your 20 years, is there something that stands out as like a total chaos? Maybe the world clock wasn't synced up. Maybe the confetti didn't fall correctly.
There's always a little bit of chaos. I mean, we were talking during the commercial break. One year it was a -2 with the wind chill out there.
So bad.
Makes the mouth difficult to move. Sometimes a performer might be a little late for their performance. You never know, but that's the beauty of this show.
Yeah.
And then you have people proposing in Times Square, literally, like, let's get married.
Yes, that's something that has happened almost every single year. Some of it makes TV, some of it doesn't. But people love that moment to say, will you be with me for the rest of our lives?
And I love knowing that those final moments are the most stressful for you, because that just makes it more exciting and urgent for all of us.
It does. And, like you said, my most important thing is 10-0. 10-0. If I get that, we're good.
Everything else is gravy, and then we're on to the new year.
We'll see. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I should have done the proposal on New Year's Eve.
Oh, see, you messed up.
Amanda would have said no.
And there's still time for me.
You got this, Ryan.
Happy
We won't rush
New
you, though.
Year,
Yeah, please.
Ryan.
I'm taking my time. Happy New Year.
May it be filled with love.
See you soon. We'll talk about the
See you in our
performers.
second hour. Thank
Yeah.
you to Ryan Seacrest. The show starts tomorrow night, 8 p.m. The ball drops at midnight. And more ahead.
Thanks for
with
that
you
programming note.
in our second hour. More GMA coming up.
Don't miss that.
Good morning, America. It's 8 a.m. Honoring President Jimmy Carter, passing away at 100 years old after an extraordinary life.
My name is Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president.
From peanut farmer to politician, then earning a Nobel Peace Prize for his work on human rights and promoting peace. His late wife, Rosalind, by his side for 7 decades.
We've always grown deeper in our love for one another.
This morning, we remember the life and legacy of our 39th president.
5 minutes of mystery. New details in the deadly plane crash in South Korea. The Boeing jet slamming into an airport barrier, killing almost everyone on board. What we're learning this morning about the 2 survivors, we are live on the scene.
Monty, the giant schnauzer, the nation's #1 dog in the country, comes in on top.
Monty the Magnificent, the giant schnauzer named Best in Show at the AKC National Championship. He's here live. Celebrate with me tonight. The countdown is on. 3, 2, 1. We're ready to ring in 2025 with Ryan Seacrest. The host of the world's biggest New Year's celebration is here. What we can expect from the party of the year. And he's saying,
Good morning, America.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA.
And we do say good morning, America. I just did the math. Less than 40 hours to go until the new year.
Wow.
So we are counting down.
Staying on it. Who needs the world clock?
Right?
We got you.
We've got the Geo clock. Will and Rebecca right here. So good to be with you. And Lori Bergamato also here. She's got the tips on making the most of those gift cards you receive for the holidays. That's coming up.
And tomorrow on GMA, we are in a Squid Game frenzy. Season 2 is out now, and Juju Chang is taking us behind the scenes with the creator and players 4, 5, 6, and 001.
Looking forward to that. But first, a look at the top stories breaking at 8, starting with the death of President Jimmy Carter. Faith Abube joins us from his hometown of Plains, Georgia, with more. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning to you, Rebecca. The small community of Plains, Georgia, wrapping comforting arms around the Carter family this morning as they mourn their native son. Around here, the former president was known simply as Mr. Jimmy. We expect admirers and locals to start paying tribute in the form of a makeshift memorial here in the coming days. But before the world knew him, this is where the Carter story began, down a dirt road to a small house with no running water. But even after he made it as a Georgia senator, Georgia governor, and then the president President of the United States, the former president never forgot his roots, always coming right back here. In fact, this is where he settled after his presidency with his wife, Rosalynn Carter, who passed away just over a year ago. Now, this is also where he passed away yesterday, surrounded by his family members. I spoke with a community member yesterday, and he puts it this way. Jimmy Carter lived a full life. He was 100 years old. He accomplished a lot. His death is not tragic. However, there is a lot of grief here in this community because there's a sense that a pillar of peace has now left this earth. Gio.
So many well-deserved tributes. All right, Faith, thank you so much. We're going to turn now to the South Korean airplane crash, one of the worst in aviation history. And this morning, the investigation into those 5 minutes of mystery. What happened in those final moments before that South Korean passenger plane landed, skidded, and then slammed into a wall? Britt Clennett is back. She's live at the crash site there in Muon, South Korea. Good morning again, Britt.
Hi, Gio. Yeah, I'm here at Muon Airport, and you can see the crumpled remains of that Jeju airplane behind me. And you really get a feel of how catastrophic and really how sudden it all was. The Boeing 737 was carrying 181 passengers and crew when it skidded along this runway without its landing gear before slamming into a concrete wall and exploding. 179 people were killed. Remarkably, 2 crew members survived. A team of U.S. officials are now here to help the investigation, but still more questions than answers as to what exactly happened here. We know that South Korean officials say that on Sunday at around 9 a.m. local time, the flight arriving from Bangkok issued a warning about a potential bird strike. 2 minutes later, the pilot makes a mayday call. Then the plane makes this unusually quick 180-degree turn, crashing moments later. Korean investigators have recovered the partially damaged black boxes, but the cockpit voice recorder was intact. Now, Jeju, it's a low-cost carrier with a good safety record, but this morning another Jeju plane was forced to turn back after takeoff after an unidentified landing gear issue. Now, South Korea saying it will now inspect all of the country's Boeing 737-800s. Will?
Safety paramount and under scrutiny right now. Britt Clennett, thank you for that. Now we celebrate the life and legacy of an ABC News legend, cameraman Tony Hiroshiki. Tony spent more than 40 years here at ABC capturing history with his lens. Among the notable moments, Tony spent a decade covering the Vietnam War from the trenches, as well as presidential politics and international summits. He worked alongside the best and brightest here, including Peter Jennings, Ted Koppel, Bob Woodruff, and David Muir. ABC News President Almin Kermamedovich paying tribute to Tony, calling him, quote, a fascinating man, a true genius, and a legend, to say the least. Tony retired in 2006 to spend more time with his church, community, and family after inspiring countless colleagues here every single day. He passed away late last week. He was revered in this company.
Really was. He was, and he made such a difference here, and he will absolutely be remembered well. All right, coming up in our GMA morning menu, Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter's enduring love story, their 77-year marriage growing stronger with the passing years. What they told our Steve Osunsami about keeping their relationship strong.
And Ryan Seacrest is here. He's coming back. We're celebrating his big 20th anniversary.
There he is.
Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. He's going to tell us about his favorite moments ringing in the new year.
And that right there is Monty, the giant schnauzer. He's here. He just won Best in Show in the American Kennel Club National Championship. And Chef Joe Isidori is here, too, showing us great dishes to serve at your New Year's Eve gathering. There he is.
Sunglasses and all.
We'll be right back. We're ready to party here on GMA.
Welcome back. Now to our GMA cover story honoring President Jimmy Carter. Beyond his presidency, he was defined by and said he was most proud of the love story with his wife of 77 years, Rosalynn. Steve Osunsami is back with more on their enduring bond. Steve, good morning.
Good morning to you. We were their very last television interview 3 years ago, and even then, the way the former president marched into the room was inspiring. He was early and wanted to get started right away. We sat down with the former president and the former First Lady and didn't talk about politics or world events. Instead, we talked about their love for each other and how it was powering them through this world and into the next.
Throughout his life, President Jimmy Carter loved sharing that marrying his wife was his greatest and most wonderful decision. Their love story began in the farming community of Plains, Georgia. She was the girl next door. He came home from college and asked Rosalind Smith out to the movies, and their worlds were never the same. They married in 1946, started a family a year later, and when Jimmy Carter entered public life, his wife Rosalind was tirelessly working behind the scenes.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
After becoming the U.S. president in 1976, he would often say that his wife Rosalind was his secret weapon, helping him connect with even more everyday Americans. As First Lady, she shined a light on treating mental health issues, helping seniors, and human rights.
For too long, these people have not received the care they need and that a caring society should provide.
When they left the White House in 1981, they came home and created the Carter Center, which to this day continues to help end human suffering around the world. And the two became known for building homes for the poor. With more than 77 years together, they are the longest married presidential couple in American history. President Carter, you say often that marrying Mrs. Carter was the pinnacle of your life, more than any presidency.
Oh, yes. That was the most important thing in my life. It was happy and joyful and obviously long-lasting. The campaign and the successful campaign was the greatest event in our life together, except for getting married.
He's pretty wonderful in my life, too.
What advice do you have for people who want to make it last?
First of all, choose the right person to marry. And then give each other plenty of space. Let the other person, have a full life in the way they choose. And help when you can. Share things a lot.
And do things together. We always looking to do things, find things we can do together, like fly fishing and bird watching.
And every night we try to make sure we are completely reconciled from all the arguments during the day when we go to bed. So we also read the Bible every night.
It's hard to go to sleep angry if you've read the Bible.
So never go to bed angry.
Try not to.
Try not to.
We still have our ups and downs, which makes life more exciting, I guess, particularly getting over them. So we still love each other very much, maybe even more than we did at first during our marriage. And we've always grown deeper in our love for one another. I think that's a kind of extraordinary.
The Carter family, the U.S. military, and the people here at the Carter Center are finalizing details on his funeral. There actually has been a schedule in place for decades, but they're having to adjust it based on the New Year holiday. There will be a state funeral in Washington, D.C., and Jimmy Carter will be buried here in Georgia next to his wife.
And he will be remembered so fondly. And Steve, I remember the first time watching that interview you did with the Carters, and it was powerful then and even more powerful to see it now. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
We are getting ready now to welcome the new year tomorrow night. The biggest party's right here in Times Square, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. Here on ABC, Ryan Seacrest, you're back. Great to see you again. This is 20th anniversary now.
I can't believe it's been 2 decades of doing this show. I mean, Dick Clark, I'll never forget that moment where he said, I want you to step in and take over and do this show every year. And I look forward to it. I get excited every time we're about to watch that ball drop.
What are some of your favorite memories? Because I have 20 years of them.
The haircuts, the freezing temperatures, the cold rain. I mean, actually, the weather is always a great memory because it creates a story. It's going to be, I think it's going to be warm but raining for the whole show this year. But when it's challenging outside, it makes for a little more fun.
Back in the day in that cold weather, the tips weren't the only thing that was frosted, right?
Hey!
had to needle you there.
Any tips for New Year's Eve?
You've got some amazing performances. You always do. Big guests and all this amazing stuff. What should we expect?
Well, Rita Ora's back in Times Square to co-host with me. She is phenomenal at everything. We've got over 60 songs being performed on this show. Carrie Underwood, who's doing Idol this year, is coming back for the 3rd time. The Jonas Brothers, who have been with us from the beginning, they're coming back to celebrate 20 years of them being a band together. Lenny Kravitz, Blake Shelton out on the West, Alanis Morissette. I mean, I can't even remember all of the performers, but it is an action-packed night.
That's a party.
A lot of fun. It's a big party, yeah.
And do you have is there anything you do every year to sort of like pump yourself up? Because we're all at home having fun with our friends, and you're there.
Rub it in.
And we're enjoying it. What is there is there a mantra? A Ryan Seacrest
yes, there's a
New Year's Eve
there's
mantra?
a meditative mantra that we all get together and do. You're welcome to join. We'll broadcast that. No, I used to eat barbecue before, but then I got very thirsty during the show. I used to eat quite a bit before, but now that I turned 50, I don't eat as much before I go on the air. We actually do the entire show, the 5-hour show, 5.5-hour show, right before we go live. So we do the whole thing in the afternoon, take a 90-minute break, and then go do it one more time.
Well, you just said 50. You turned 50.
Yes.
Big birthday. How'd you celebrate, or are you planning to celebrate tomorrow night?
I celebrated by an elbow brace, a knee brace, readers.
Oh, come on.
No moisturizer.
Oh, come on.
Aches and pains. I celebrated with my family. We did a traditional fondue dinner with my sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, my parents out in L.A. It was a lot of fun, but I'm not quite sure what 50 will feel like because I haven't felt it yet. We've been so busy afterwards.
Yeah.
Lots of American cultural institutions turning 50. Ryan Seacrest, Good Morning America, and Wheel of Fortune, which is
Get in on this. Get in on this, Will. It's the trend for 25.
Yeah, I guess so. I have a little ways to go, but you're leading the way. How will you be celebrating this 50th season of Wheel?
I can't believe, this is such an amazing franchise to be a part of. It's been a part of people's lives for 50 years, and an important part of people's lives, as I've had a chance to learn through all the contestants. Of course, I watched it growing up, but we'll celebrate contestants' milestones as well along the way, important things that have happened in their lives, and we will continue to give away a lot of cash. I am determined to give away $1 million one night. We got very close a couple of times, so I think 2025 is the year. Wheel of Fortune will give away another $1 million.
You heard it here first. That would be a big deal.
Where's the application website?
I don't know if you might be DQ'd.
I'd like to buy a vowel. I'm curious, do you ever call anyone after the show? Because we're wishing our families Happy New Year. Who's the first person you wish Happy New Year to?
I don't get a chance to get on my phone. It's very busy at that point. We're running up and down Times Square. About 1:33 and 13 seconds. We're finished with the live portion of the show, and then I check my messages. I call my family, call my parents. I don't call my sister. I usually text her. But my parents they're up with the TV dinner watching, so I usually get them before they fall asleep.
I don't want to see how many unread text messages you have.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few, but I definitely get back to all of them.
You can just get on air, be like, "Hi everyone, I'm not going to text you back, but Happy New Year."
Just to let you know, what are you most? Do you have any? Are you afraid of anything? Is there anything scary?
In the context of the new year.
Marriage. Have a seat. Let's talk a while.
So, in terms of the show.
Yes.
Okay, got it. You never know what's going to happen. I don't think scary is the word. I think excited for the unknown in a way and for the spontaneity of things that happen. I mean, 1 million people will be out there. The elements will be there, the performers. There's so much that happens live, and we do have to get it on time.
Do you have a good raincoat, by the way, Ryan?
I definitely have a raincoat.
Okay,
I keep coats here. There's a little place in the closet. For 20 years, I've kept coats here.
In this building? It's still there?
Yeah.
We got to raid that closet.
I know where I'm going right after the show.
Closet.
We have a nickname for it. It's called the Cage.
What are you thinking in those final moments right before the countdown?
It's all excitement. It's thinking about the people who are at home watching. It may be on in the background, but in those final moments, it's grab someone you love, get in front of the TV, and think about a hopeful new year. It's a reset. It's a great reset for all of us to do together.
Yeah, and it has to be really nice to look out into the eyes of this entire crowd outside this window and feel there's joy. There's like a hopefulness that you get every year from doing this.
It's a great point. In that moment, it's like we're all together. Our differences don't matter for about a minute or two at the start of the year. And that is something that's so rare and so significant and so special, and it's magical to watch. So hopefully if you are at home, you tune in. The big event happens At what time, Will?
Midnight. Nailed it. Every year, same time and same guy.
Same time, best guy for the job,
Thank
Ryan
you, guys.
Seacrest.
Great to see you all,
Thank
as
you
always.
so
Happy
much.
New Year.
Great to
Happy New
see
Year.
you.
Thanks, guys.
And just in case you missed Will's foretelling of the big event, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. It begins at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on ABC. The ball drops at midnight. And now we're going to go over. It does. It will. Now we're going to go.
Raincoat for that. Yeah.
All right, time for those holiday gift cards. 64% of us, all right, buy gift cards as holiday gifts. But on average, Bankrate says that Americans have up to $240 of unused gift cards just sitting around there in the wallets. So GMA Lifestyle contributor Lori Bergamato is here to help us figure out what to do with all these.
Exactly. I'm going to tell you, you're going to treat yourself.
You're going to treat yourself. Okay, so we're going to start with $25 if you have a $25 gift card.
Exactly. So if you have that gift card, Gio, right now there are so many great deals. We're going to start with Sephora. So Sephora is having what they call their sale on sale event. So you can get 20% off additional sale items. But what we're telling you to do, we have found this amazing palette. It's down from $40. It's now $24. It's a Sephora brand. So this is one of the little tips and tricks, right? They obviously sell every beauty brand exactly under the sun. But if you look for their Sephora brand, you might get an even better deal. It's not just on beauty, though. It's on fashion as well at Old Navy. We found these extra high-waisted flare jeans. These are down from $49.99 to $29.99. So you can get a pair of jeans for under $5. And Gio, just to point out, a lot of times people see fashion items on sale at this time of year and they're like, oh, those are the cast-offs. I don't want to buy that. Not the case. Make sure that you don't fall into that trap, because what will happen is those jeans that we just talked about, that's going to be a big trend for 2025. So you can get them for less
so you
now.
get them now.
Exactly.
All right, so now we got $50.
$50. Okay, we're going to kick things off with Macy's. So don't sleep on department stores. Macy's is having a humongous sale, up to 70% off in some departments.
Okay.
We chose to go for beauty because it is the name brand that we're looking for here from Clinique, their 4-piece Moisture Glow set. Here is another tip, Gio, is that you see how this is a gift set? It's like it comes packaged and whatever. That is an $82 retail value that they packaged up for the holidays to save you money.
So it's already a discount plus the sale.
Now you're getting even more, so you can get it for $38.50 and still have a little bit left over. And then let's go ahead and see our next one there. Lululemon is a good morning.
Those are great. I've seen those, yeah.
And the GMA viewer, we know that they love an everywhere belt bag. They don't often go on a discounted price, so this is down from $48 to $29. So it's a great thing that you can get. And if you've been lucky enough to be gifted a $100 gift card.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is the big one. This is really
the big
good.
one. Okay, so we know a lot of people are also shopping for families, so we wanted to show you Land's End, which is known for their really high quality but affordable prices. The kids' squall jacket, Gio's down from $109.95 to $54.97.
We'll get that for Will for the rainy New Year's Eve.
Exactly, and look at colors, because we even found some different colors for $40. So you can get a lot of different ones. And then last but certainly not least, Nordstrom. They are having their half-yearly sale. Do not miss this.
That's a discount.
That is an UGG shearling lace-up booty, $180, down to $90. And on UGGs, who doesn't want that? You can get those for New Year's Eve, too, with your poncho.
So smart. Listen, you always have the right stuff. Thank you so much.
Max those gift cards,
Oh, see, I brought your other segment into this one. The right stuff.
There you go.
All right. Scan the QR code on your screen right there. It's going to pop up here because you can shop these products. And Lori's going to be back tomorrow with more deals. And one of the other things that I like to do with gift cards, sometimes so I don't forget, I go ahead and get them over to one of those Amazon. All right, Monty, the best show. The best in show is coming up here on GMA. Stick around.
Welcome back to GMA, live from Times Square.
I love that song. Welcome back to GMA. Let's get some pop news now with Will.
Let's do it, Gio and Rebecca. We're going to begin pop news this morning with Gal Gadot, who revealed on Instagram yesterday that she was diagnosed with a, quote, massive blood clot in her brain back in February while she was 8 months pregnant. Wow. The Wonder Woman actress writing she'd had excruciating headaches, and an MRI finally revealed the cause. Gadot adding, quote, it was a stark reminder how quickly everything can change, and in the midst of a difficult year, all I wanted to do was hold on and live. Saying she wanted to share the news to help spread awareness of the serious but treatable condition and support anyone enduring a health crisis of their own. Gadot says she is fully healed, filled with gratitude to be with her family, which does include her newborn daughter, Ori, whose name fittingly means my light.
And it was her light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly.
That sickness. And that
Exactly
right.
right.
So happy that she shared that and that everything is well and the family is beautiful.
Yes, we're very glad to hear that as we end this new year. And also this morning, the Minnesota Vikings are telling the world they're all in this together. Woo! The team has been diving into the pop culture vault all season long, much to Rebecca and her delight. Yesterday's entree was their version of the We're All in This Together final dance routine from High School Musical. It came off a fumble recovery early in the crucial game against division rival Green Bay. Minnesota hanging on to win 27-25. And some other offerings from the Vikings this season include last week's Camp Rock dance from the 2008 Disney hit. And earlier this month, they hit the dance battle scene from White Chicks. Personally, I think their magnum opus may have been October's Parent Trap Secret Handshake. And as Rebecca well knows, next week the Vikings face the Detroit Lions with the #1 seed in the NFC on the line. Which dance do you think they should do?
The happy dance, because they're going to win it.
Yeah, something. It has to do something with win. Like all I do is win, the hands go up and they stay there. Speaking of winning, by the way, we are in the presence of greatness right now. It's time for some pup news. We've been talking about him all morning. This is Monty the Giant Schnauzer. He has not been sitting here the whole show, but here he is now. He won Best in Show at the 2024 American Kennel Club National Championship in Orlando. And he joins us now with his owner and handler, Katie Bernardin. Katie and Monty, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So many questions. First off, how do you get the eyebrows like that?
Lots of trimming, little products.
Okay.
But we like to have them on point.
Well, he looks fabulous, and Monty was one of nearly 6,000 dogs who put their best paw forward in the show. How did Monty win it all?
His structure, his movement, that's what the judges look for, and his attitude. Monty loves himself, so he really shines in that environment.
Okay,
he loves himself.
Yeah, minus the loving himself sounds a lot like well-structured, moves well-groomed. That was a compliment.
Thank you.
Just like a physical specimen, he's fantastic. Okay, moving on.
Go back to Monty.
Sorry, back to Monty. And Katie, what is your training secret to help Monty show so well?
Lots of consistency, training, routine. We do the same thing every day, and giants need a lot of training and activity.
How much training is there?
He does this every weekend, so there's a routine of it. And, beforehand, we did a lot of obedience for listening, and so a lot goes into it.
Consistency breeds results. Yeah, that's right.
And he won with that voice.
There was a singing competition. Oh, Monty's on the move. Maybe because is he hungry? Does he have a favorite dish that he likes to eat?
Monty is always hungry. Monty loves a good medium rare steak.
That's my guy. I like it.
Yes.
How does he feel if it's not medium rare?
Well, my husband always cooks him the steaks, so they're always medium rare.
He sends it back
to the kitchen.
You can come in if you need to give him a treat.
Yeah, if he needs a treat, come on and join. What's next, by the way, for Monty?
We'll be back in the city in February for Westminster, and then, Monty will do some other activities and just be our family pet.
Does he get a vacation?
He gets to go run in his paddock and get as dirty as he wants.
But he's your family pet. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. He grew up with my baby, and she calls him Puppy. That is her puppy.
Well, now she should call him Champ. He's a winner. Katie Bernardin, Monty the Giant Schnauzer, thank you so much for joining us. That was Pop/Pup News.
I love that. I love Pup News with Will. That's good.
Now, with setting career goals for the new year, and joining us is career expert and author Laura Gassner-Otting with some great tips for how to get the job. It's so nice to see you, Laura. Happy almost New Year to you.
It's great to be back.
And there's a lot of people who look at a new year as a new opportunity, and you say there could be really good work opportunities for people in the new year.
Absolutely. January is an amazing time to look for jobs because the decision makers are back in the office, the fiscal year is starting, projects are getting underway, and we're also going to get a slew of people who quit, maybe after they got their end of year bonus, or maybe if they didn't get their end of year bonus. So it's time to make a plan, to start networking, and to follow up.
And if you were sending out emails last year and you weren't, or at this time, and you weren't getting follow-ups, good to just reach out to them.
Absolutely. The people who are hiring you, it's usually not their job. Most of the jobs in this country are small businesses, and so they don't have someone whose entire job is hiring. So go back, follow up, because they likely were a little busy. It has nothing to do with you. They were just busy.
Yeah, always. I try to never think that it's about you. And I always tell young people not to go that route because you don't want to get in that negative headspace.
Absolutely. Don't take it personally.
Okay, we have a great viewer question from Will White. He's from Huntington, New York. Let's take a look.
how can I focus on my strengths and stand out when I'm applying for a new job?
Standing out. Especially in this world, everything is digital. How do you do it?
So your strengths are hidden in 3 places. The first, look at the compliments that you get. We're so used to going like, oh, it's nothing and brushing it off. But the truth is what seems mundane to you is actually magical to others. And your strengths lie in that magic. The second is look at your wins. So pick 3 to 5 things that you did really well, either professionally, could even be personally, like in your place of worship or your fantasy football league, and figure out what habits, what skills, what traits you had to bring about to get those goals all the way to successes. And then lastly, think about what didn't go so well. What did you have to learn? Who did you have to meet? What skills did you have to bring about in order to persevere to the other side of that challenge?
And when you, on that number 3, how should people frame that idea, and how much should you be bringing that to an interview conversation, for example, with that question of, what are your weaknesses? What do you say about that?
Yes, so the worst answer you can give is like, oh, I work too hard, right? That's not really a weakness. So let's talk about what you really did. Now, in 20 years of executive search, when I listen to people tell me about a weakness, I always listen to see if they actually could turn the mirror back on themselves. So are they just blaming other people, or can they tell me about here's what I did and here's what I learned so that it wouldn't happen again and I can get better?
And what's the one word people should never use?
You never want to hear the word deserve, because I'm guessing your manager also thinks they deserve a raise or a promotion too. So let's talk about how maybe you've earned that through very specific quantitative results.
All right. Laura, thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
All right, for readers, 2024 was one for the books. So we rounded up some of our favorites and one of our very favorite people to break down the list. It's Will Gans. Hello, Will.
Hey, Will. We're in a library. I don't know if you know.
Oh, sorry, dude. My bad.
Yeah.
Okay. We really are. All right, let's get to it then. Sorry, quietly. This first one here, we've got something for every mood, every kind of reader. The first novel is Timeless Tale Transformed.
Yeah, so this is revisiting one of a story that you've read, that we've read, we all loved, but it's been transformed. This is James by Percival Everett. So this is the story of Huckleberry Finn, reimagined from the perspective of James, who Mark Twain introduced us to as Jim, an escaped slave. It's a National Book Award winner for fiction. It's got short chapters, so you'll plow through it. It moves really, really quickly. And for me, I just loved revisiting this story that I was introduced to as an adolescent and seeing it from a fresh perspective, a more mature perspective. It is just a joy to read.
I just read it over Christmas. It is magnificent, I can attest. But we can't spend too much time here with James just yet because we have to move on to anyone out for a thrill.
Yeah, so this is our pick for the best thriller of the year. This is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Oh my gosh, this book is so much fun to read. I thought I was going to love it just as a suspense thriller. I wound up loving it for so much more. It's about a 13-year-old girl who goes missing during a sleepaway camp that her family actually owns. But get this, her brother went missing from the same place 14 years earlier. It's spooky, it's suspenseful, and I just can't recommend this one enough.
I am hooked, but we will move down the line here to Love in the Air, Sealed with a Kiss. We love a good love story.
That's exactly right. So this is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. It was a Good Morning America book club book pick. It's fantastic. It's about a guy who feels like he's cursed because after he breaks up with anybody, they immediately move on to find the love of their life. And a girl who has the same quote-unquote curse meets him on Reddit. They decide if they date each other just for the summer, maybe they can break this curse and move on to find their soulmates. But things start to go awry when maybe they develop feelings for each other.
I'm still stuck on Met on Reddit, but all right, I'll have to read it to understand what's going on. And our next category, Fiction for the Fearless.
Yeah, so this is our pick for the YA book of the year. But I have to tell you, it is not just the YA book of the year, it is one of the best books of the year. So this is Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Faride Abike-Imide. It's about a girl who goes to a boarding school and meets her roommate, and she's like, oh great, I have a new best friend. That girl goes missing after just the first night. So it's a gripping thriller, and it is, it's heavy, it's fantastic, and for YA fans or adults who just love a YA book, this is really, really great.
Awesome. Will, you are supernatural, but this one here is rooted in reality. What do you have for us?
So this is our pick for the historical fiction book of the year, and this is The Women by Kristen Hanna. It is so fantastic. It's a woman who chooses to go to Vietnam during the war to serve, and the fallout that happens when she returns. And this pull quote from the author, I think, sums it up perfectly. The women had a story to tell, even if the world wasn't quite yet ready to hear it. And their story began with 3 simple words: we were there. It's really great. It's heavy, so don't think that you're going to just be able to read it and then go to, I don't know, a New Year's Eve party and feel totally fabulous. This one's going to stay with you, okay?
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope you stay with us because you are the very best, Will. Thank you for reading all those books and educating us. And now we're going to go read them. All right. We're going to let you know that you can shop for all of these books on goodmorningamerica.com. It's the place to buy books these days.
Hey.
Will. You look really good.
Thank you. Thank you. A little polka dot. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve, Will Reeve.
It sure is. And because it is, Chef Joe Isidori is here with great dishes for your New Year's Eve party. Stay with us on GMA.
All right, we are back now. We were just talking here because we love Chef Isidori here. We're ready to ring in the new year with some great food. Please,
Yes.
it's so good right now.
Yes.
The owner and chef of Arthur and Sons right here in New York City, Joe
That's me.
Isidori.
That's me. Okay? I'm that guy.
The energy you bring.
So listen, first off,
for New Year's Eve.
we got to get festive.
Okay.
I need my glasses.
Oh,
okay?
all right.
2025, we're bringing it in. We got to start with a cocktail. So
Okay.
you're going to make this. You guys are doing the work. I'm not doing anything today.
Okay. All right.
Pour that in there. That's strawberry puree. It's called the Rosini. It's like a Bellini. You can use any fruit puree.
Wow, that's a lot of puree.
That's like a smoothie.
That's a lot.
Yeah, you know what? Here, take this one. Take this one. Let's do this.
I already messed it up. That's what happens when you make us do it.
Let's start first like this. Let's start the New Year way. Salud. All right. Okay, so now let's get to work, folks. All right, so we're going to make a truffled carbonara style rigatoni.
This is beautiful.
First thing I'm going to do is get some rigatoni in there.
Yes.
We've got this sauce going. I've got bacon, mushrooms, onions. Listen, folks, this is a New York Italian carbonara. It's got some cream in it. Your heads are going to explode. That's okay. I don't care. I'm excited. It's the new year.
I'm excited
right?
for you.
So what we're going to do is we got the pasta cooking over here.
Okay.
Take some peas. Throw some peas in there.
Peas in the
Yep.
pasta?
Just throw it in there.
In the
Throw it
sauce.
In the
Okay.
sauce. In the
Got
sauce.
it.
Okay.
Mushrooms?
Next thing, throw the mushrooms in there. I love it. Need that bacon over there. We got some parsley. Put a little lemon zest.
Ooh, lemon
All right.
zest.
Lemon zest. All right. This guy's eating already.
And this is
Come on, wait for nobody.
This is a New York carbonara.
New York
a little
carbonara.
different than a Robin carbonara.
Not a. It's. I don't know if you heard him from New York. Yeah. So we're gonna get the pasta in here. Then we're gonna add. Now we're gonna go back to Rome a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit.
Okay.
The yolks.
Egg
the
yolk.
Now add some cheese to
Okay.
You got to keep the eggs moving, I heard.
That's it.
Right?
Now we're gonna move it. We're gonna move it, and I'm gonna get a little pasta water. A little pasta water, right?
Always save a little pasta water.
And then wait. I'm gonna make a mess. I'm gonna make a mess.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a mess.
Okay.
There we go.
Have you done this before?
So I have. You believe I'm a professional. So we have our rigatoni. We got this. We got that. Truffle oil, just to make it luxurious, okay?
Is this on the menu, by the way?
that's what you take.
We have carbonara on the menu, but not the truffle carbonara.
So this is the special
This
carbonara.
is special. And then
GMA special.
afterwards, we like to make it rain, baby.
Ah,
We like
yes.
to make it rain,
Yes.
okay? I've got a little something there for you. Gio's already gone. You know, he's
Ready?
He's being a gavone over here.
I need a little cheese, please,
You want some
Chef.
cheese?
Oh, my gosh.
Where's the cheese go? Here we go.
so good.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at
Truffle
this.
oil is phenomenal.
Table side.
Say
Table
when.
side.
When?
That's it. Make it snow. Make it snow. All right. So we have the Rosini. We've got the carbonara. We've talked all about New York, right? Next thing we got is a baked crab dip with Parmesan, okay? So this sucker's great, okay? You got cream cheese in it. You got crab in it, okay? It's got Parmesan in it.
I don't know why you're not sharing.
There you go. There you go.
Whoa.
Listen, you know what I like to do? I like to get in there and go.
Oh, boy. Oh,
You're not
boy.
the only gavone around here. All right? You can't upstage me. Then we bake it in the oven for like, I don't know, 45 minutes or so.
Wow.
Gets nice and crisp,
Wow.
nice golden brown. You can serve it with a baguette, a crostini. You can have it with your Rosini. I don't know whose this is, but I'm breaking it.
Could you do this in advance?
You can bake this a day ahead, put it in a refrigerator, and then bake it. You can bake it, put it in a refrigerator, then bake it again. Yes, it's great.
What are you doing for New Year's?
What am I doing?
Yeah, because you've got a new restaurant.
I've got a new restaurant in Murray Hill on 39th and Lex at the Pod Hotel. You should come by there. We'll be hanging out. I'm going to be popping bottles.
If we can get in, your restaurant's
I think I know a guy. You know. But besides that, I got to be honest. New Year's Eve's kind of boring for me. I like to stay home with the family.
It feels like every night's New Year's Eve for you.
That's it. That's what I do. I'm always on. That's what I do. So New Year's Eve, I like to take the day
I tell you
off.
what, though, with these flavors, it ain't
So
boring.
another thing
It ain't
too, you
boring.
can do spinach and artichoke with this. You can do different flavors with it. It's great. Even the rigatoni, you can do different things with. with. And like I said before, you can make bellinis with the peach. You can do all different types of things. But look, 2025 is going to be a year. It's going to be a year to remember.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to it.
Yes, Jeff.
Thank you so much. You are awesome. We appreciate you. And
keep
listen,
the energy up. Keep the energy up.
Keep the energy up and get that recipe. You see that QR code right there, goodmorningamerica.com. We've got it all there for you.
Before we go, we want to take a moment to remember a longtime member of the GMA team from behind the scenes. Miles Taylor, you see him there, he worked for decades as a video engineer, all while rising to become chief of the Nyack Fire Department in Rockin County, New York. He coached the local high school cross country and track teams, and he brought that same dedication to his community and his work here with ABC News. And our thoughts are with his loved ones this morning.
Yeah, and he will be so missed here.
And remembered.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching here on GMA.
Have a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on the final day of the year, if you can believe it.